Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to my channel. First of all, let me appreciate all of you that you have liked my channel and you have subscribed it and you are sharing it with your friends. So I'm thankful for that. Now, if you have gone through the videos on Greek mythology, then you know that understanding English literature without Greek mythology is almost impossible. Like, you cannot enjoy the true sense of the literature from it. Like, you cannot feel the soul of literature without mythology. So in the same series, these are certain incidents from British history which are incumbent upon us to know. Like, without them we cannot understand British history either. So first one is Industrial Revolution that we are talking today. So from 1760 to 1840, Industrial Revolution in England, which began in the 18th century, is a turning point towards a new world. The modernization of the cities in England brings tremendous impact not only to the social, economical and political level, but also bring a great influence to the literary work. Industrial Revolution brought major changes in literary works, particularly in terms of theme and language. So first of all, what Industrial Revolution was? Industrial Revolution was a revolution in science and industry where there were so many creations, and these creations started when England became the Queen of Seas. So England was ruling all over the world and its navy was extremely powerful, and it was said about England that sun never sets in British Empire. So the British Empire was so huge that at one end it was ruling Africa, at the other it was ruling America, then on this side it was ruling China, subcontinent, and major countries of Europe as well. So sun never set in British Empire. So this was a famous slogan of that time. So Queen was ruling all over the world, and this revolution, this brought with it modernization not only in cities but also in the important export work, especially the export work. So when England won so many battles and conquered all over the world and extracted the minerals and resources of all the countries, so it thought to invest it on the development of industry. So it developed industries, and then what happened that factories were there and new machines were invented, and all the manual work that was changed with mechanical work. This was a good thing that processing was made faster, but it resulted in a bad thing that most of the people, they were jobless. Like, for example, if there was a machine that was to be worked upon by one person to make a cloth, previously the cloth was handmade and there were 10 to 15 people making that cloth. So the machine removed them out of job and there was only one person who was a supervisor of machine who was taking care of it. So people had to do petty jobs in order to meet their daily expenses. So all the especially in London and in England, all over the England, people had lost their interest in their domestic life because they were all the time busy. They did not have time to look after their families. They were doing 3 jobs in a day to make both ends meet. So such people like Wordsworth, Shelley, John Keats, they were the romantics who stood against this revolution and its horrors, the pollution that were destroying the nature, the people who were having no time for nature. Like William Davies says in his famous poem Lear, that we have no time to stand and stare, no time to look at beauty's glance. Like, he also agrees that man has become so much mechanic that he doesn't look at nature. Industrial Revolution further has significantly changed the face of England, This all began with the invention of steam engine by James Watt in 1760s. In a short time, most of the manual workers were replaced by the use of technology. So they were out of job and they had to do so many jobs to take care of the family. The society has transformed from agriculture into industrial. It marked a transition from traditional world into modern world. So there was a change not only in technology but also in their living style, in their dresses, in their thinking. So positively, the development of the technology and the economic growth of the country has made England a leading country and hold an important role in the world. So this was then written about Industrial Revolution. So Industrial Revolution brought a dynamic change in England as well as in Europe. On the contrary, the industrialization created many negative impacts as well. So one of those impacts was pollution from the factory that damaged the environment, the gap of social class, the escalation of slum area in the big cities, the increasing number of criminality and other social problems which was caused by the urbanization. And furthermore, during the 18th century, literature has grown massively. The effect of Industrial Revolution has brought a new spirit to the age. So this is what I was talking about, that literature is life and life is literature. Both are indispensable to each other. So Industrial Revolution has given birth to so many masterpiece works in literature. There are several distinctive changes between the works during this era and the era before. The major changes of literary work of this era are in themes and language. So there were so many literary works written in this time, starting from John Milton and Benjamin Franklin, then Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe, and then people working in the cities and coming from towns and the increase in urbanization, and female and children, they were also working there, so child labor was increasing. William Blake wrote a poem called Chimney Sweeper, and that is about the misery of a child labor. And Dickens, who had a big concern on the social issues, he wrote his novel Hard Time. So all the people were affected by the revolution and they were writing something about the horrors, about the aftermaths of the revolution. So Dickens and his contemporaries, they were writing in prose form, and romantics, they were writing in the poetry in verse form. So there were certain themes of the time. So themes change, and themes, for example, if they were talking about romantic affairs, then the themes and the movement and the thinking and thought process that shifted. So the other common theme during this era is nature. Industrial Revolution transformed the environment significantly. Small towns developed into big cities. Pollution from factories contaminated the land, air and the water. Railroad lines, viaducts and canals appeared in the countryside. The beauty of the nature was destroyed by the mechanical devices. People were longing for the scenic atmosphere of the nature. They appreciated nature more. Hence, the writers brought back the beauty of the nature into their works. This natural setting can be seen in Wuthering Heights by Jane Eyre and poems by William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor Coleridge and Lord Byron. So if you have read Wuthering Heights, so it is the masterpiece by Jane Eyre. You can understand what nature is. So novelists were talking about nature in prose works and poets were talking about nature with their verses. So another theme of literary work during this era is technology, and Mary Shelley, she wrote Frankenstein, a novel which depicts the possibility that a man can be created by science. So you can put the body parts together and with the help of science you can create a man. In poetry, romantic movement in literature is a result of this revolution. So there was so many creation of masterpiece literary works that came after Industrial Revolution. There was change in language too. Literary works before 18th century were considered as divine works of arts. Most of the works were written by the aristocracy. The popular form was poetry, therefore the structure. the use of the metaphor, rhyme, rhythm, meter, and the word choice were important. In the 17th century, there was a literary stream which is called metaphysics. The metaphysical writers used high metaphor, symbolism, and difficult words which make the words difficult to understand. The metaphysical language which was used depicts the quality of the literary works, as literary work was seen as divine work of art. So since it was considered divine, it was in the control of aristocratic people. So there was much dignity found in this, and there was proper balance, proper rhyme, rhythm, which was then violated by the Romantics. So Wordsworth, for instance, is not taking much care about rhyme and rhythm. He is into writing the free verse. So contrary to the Elizabethans and contrary to the metaphysical poetry, the 18th century, during the Industrial Revolution, literary works was seen as a voice of common people. Literary works were used as media to express thought and feeling toward what happened in the society during the Industrial Revolution era. In line with the theme of the works which portrayed social issues of the common people, the language used in the works is vernacular language. Vernacular language is a language which is used by ordinary people. That is why we find comparatively easier use of language in the voice of Romantics. So whatever is written by John Keats, Wordsworth, Byron, Shelley, Browning, they happen to be vernacular languages, and they happen to be an example, or they happen to be the examples of those creations which are made for common people, common public, because they were influencing or they were focusing on the individual, so that individual should not suffer. So this is about Industrial Revolution and its effects on literature, and I hope you have understood all this. For further details, you can go to Google and search much about Industrial Revolution. You can get to know the other scientific progresses which started in this era. Thank you very much. Stay tuned.